If your pre-call nurturing process isn't dialed in, you can 2 to 3x your numbers just by doing this one thing. I'm talking about going from a 60% show rate to an 85% show rate, and going from a 25% close rate to a 50% close rate with the exact same leads that you're already getting. And if you don't know me, my name is Nick. I'm one of the co-founders here at NCT Media. We've helped over 200 roofers across the United States by booking them thousands of appointments every single month. Now, most roofers think that low close rates and low show rates are just kind of part of the business. They're not. They're all symptoms of a horrible pre-call process. So here's what we're gonna go over today. So first, I'm gonna go over the #1 reason why people don't show up for their appointments. And then I'm gonna go over all the objections you need to pre-handle before the appointment and how failing to do so is costing you tons of jobs every single month. And then finally, I'm gonna give you 3 specific tactics that you can implement this week to start seeing immediate results. By the end of this video, you're gonna understand how you can 2 to 3x your numbers with the lead flow that you're already getting. All right, so in section #1, we are going to go over clarity and how it is crucial to get your appointments to show up and to be excited for their appointments. So the #1 reason why people don't show up for their appointments is a lack of information. A lack of information leads to a lack of clarity. So here's what I mean by this. So think about this through the perspective of a homeowner. They clicked on an ad and they just either self-booked the appointment, or they had a short phone call where they were qualified and then they booked the appointment. And then after they book, questions start to come in. They're like, well,
who are these guys again? How long have they been in the business? How much is this gonna cost? How long are they gonna be in my house for?
all these questions that start flooding into their mind, it starts causing doubt. And these little seeds of doubt, they can sprout into a no-show, or sprout into, them might be, they show, but they don't have great intent because we weren't answering their questions. All right, so the 3 main things that you need to understand how to create clarity in the prospect's mind when they're booking the appointment is why, when, where. So why they are booking an appointment, when the appointment's gonna be, and where the appointment's gonna be. So these are obvious, but the why, when, where, the 3 main things that you need to make sure every prospect has clarity in before the appointment happens. All right, so the when and where is very easy to give them clarity on. So like, when is it? 11 a.m., where? The homeowner's house or Zoom, however you guys do your sales process. The why is what we really have to nail, and this is the hardest part. So why includes things like this. So like, is it like why you / your company? Why now? Like, why do they need to get this problem solved now? Why your offer? Like, why do they need to execute on your offer rather than like other offers that are out there? Like super, super important. And then another important one, why should they be excited for the appointment? So everything in your pre-call process has to reinforce each and every one of these whys, as well as like the when and where. Like I said, those are the easy ones, but especially on the why. So like, if you can get them to have clarity on why they're booking an appointment with you and your company, why are they booking the appointment now, not next week, not next month, not in a year? Why are they booking for your offer, like whatever offer that they were interested in on the marketing, and why they should be excited for it? If you can gain clarity in all these 3 things, or 4 things for the whys, your show rates are going to skyrocket, and therefore, like when they do show up for the appointment, they're gonna have more clarity on you and why and how and everything that goes in between that. So their chances of closing and like buying your service is gonna be much higher, because confused buyers don't buy, right? So, and it's all about clarity. So if they have the clarity, they won't be confused. So most roofers, like they're just gonna send them like a text reminder, like, yeah, I'll be there in a couple hours. Hey, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And they're just expecting that to do something. That's not enough information. The only thing that covers is when, maybe where, in your text reminders. It doesn't really cover the why, which like I said is the most important part. So it's not that they don't like remember the appointment, they just don't have clarity on these other pieces of information. They're just not sure about you, they're not sure about your offer, they're not sure if they need it right now, and they're not sure if they should even be excited about the appointment. So they just kind of blow it off. They're like, oh, I need to reschedule, oh, I'll cancel. Or they just tell you nothing and they just no-show, right? They just no call, no show. So when you're sending these reminders, keep that in mind. You're only reinforcing the when and where, which is super easy. So the why, I can't harp on this enough, is what we need to give them clarity on. All right, so in the next section, so in section 2, we're gonna be going over the objection handling system pre-call. Handling pre-call / appointment. So it's honestly pretty simple, like what I'm gonna go over, but it needs to be done in a strategic way. So once again, we increase our chances of achieving clarity in every single one of our prospects. All right, so objections, they are like, think of them like cancer cells. And if we don't, like chemotherapy them, like before the appointment happens, they're going to grow into much bigger problems. It's gonna be stage 4 objections, and it's going to kill your sales. So it leads to 3 different problems. So the first problem that it leads to is they don't show up. They don't show pretty much because the objection like kind of dwindled their interest over time, and they just end up like, I'm not really trying to show up for this appointment. So number 2, and I'm assuming that you guys are dealing with this a lot, which I know you are because I talk to a lot of you guys. So the second one is they have the objection in the appointment. So in appointment objection. So the objection wasn't handled before the appointment even started. So they give you that objection in the sales process. So it lengthens your sales cycle. You might have to do it like another check-in call. They're not really ready to make the decision because they haven't overcame that objection within their own minds, right? And it overall just decreases your closing percentage, and it ends up wasting you a lot of time chasing these people down and trying to handle this objection. The number 3 problem, and pretty bad one, is they go handle that objections themselves elsewhere. So they find their information elsewhere. So this is them either like exploring on their own, maybe like going to one of your competitors that was able to resonate with the when, where, and why a little bit more. And then they end up going with them because they had this objection with you. You didn't reinforce the why, when, where, so they found somebody else that was able to do that better. So when you're going through your process and trying to pre-handle the objections, get some great feedback from your sales team. So I would go to your sales team, or I would go to call recordings that you have. I would go through them, and I would find all the most common objections or questions that homeowners have in the process, and then pre-handle them before the call. So things like, is this gonna be a high pressure like sales situation? Like they're kind of scared of like letting people in their home that are just gonna kind of pitch them. How long is this gonna take? What if they're more expensive than all the other competitors? Like are they, a reliable company? They have all these questions that sprout up in their minds. So with you specifically, you need to go through and ask your sales team to give you that feedback so you can list out these most commonly, asked questions or most commonly given objections. So now you can start your process of pre-handling them before your next appointments. So when somebody has an objection and you're not addressing it, like we already went over, their interest level drops. So that leads to a no-show, or that leads to their guard being up when you have the appointment. But when you pre-handle the objections, you're controlling the narrative. You can take a lead that's kind of curious but may have some doubts into a lead that is convicted. You control the narrative. Like, think about how powerful that is. This is why some roofers show up to appointments and the homeowners are practically begging them to get the job done. It's because the roofer did a good job at addressing their why, when, where, and especially the why. So they went from curious to having some doubts probably to being convicted and being confident that they're the solution to the problem. And then other roofers, probably yourself, you show up to appointments and people are skeptical, they gotta get other quotes, they gotta look around, they're a little unsure. It's an objection fighting battle at the end of the appointment. It extends your sales cycle. Your reps are frustrated, you're frustrated because nobody's making the money that they wanna make. And notice this, the difference isn't the leads, the difference is within the pre-call process that nurtures the leads. Okay, in this section, section 3, we're gonna go over the solutions on how you solve these problems. How do you handle these objections? So the first thing that you can do is you can make a pre-call video. So in your pre-call video, this is where you're gonna, make a video that should be on your confirmation page, and you're gonna be introducing yourself, showing your credentials, building excitement for the appointment, answering any commonly asked questions that you got from your sales team. Remember, you get the feedback from the sales team, and then in that video, that's where you're gonna be handling all of that. So the pre-call video, it should be engineered where it handles like 80 to 100% of the objections that you most commonly see. There's just gonna be some weird ones out there. You're never gonna be able to handle all of them all of the time. But if you get these people to watch this video before the appointment, they should have 80% of their questions cleared up. So their clarity goes up, your sales cycle shortens, your close rate goes up, your show rate goes up. So the second tactic that you can use is an email sequence. So in this email sequence, it's going to be very similar to the video in terms of you're going to be handling commonly asked questions, right? So you should be showing them before and after photos, testimonials, explaining your process a little bit, and anything else that you see from your sales team that should be included within this email process. The goal is the exact same. So you want to educate them on your process and on your company and reinsure the why, when, where, especially the why, before the appointment even starts. I see a lot of the best companies, and we do this as well, within our agency, we do both. So like we have an email sequence and we also have that pre-call video on our confirmation page. So we're clearing up as many questions as we possibly can before the call even starts. So the third tactic is gonna be a confirmation call. Same objective as the other three, obviously, but this one should be more focused towards like setting expectations and rapport building because it's like a human to human interaction. So you should have like very personable call agents or sales reps that are making these confirmation attempts. We found that like female agents like typically work better. There's also some like obviously like male agents that like do really, really well. But we find like that warm type of feeling that usually like females come with on the confirmation process works really, really well. So they should be trained in answering all these commonly asked questions, but like I said, it should be geared more towards rapport and building excitement and setting expectations, stuff like that. So using a combination of all three of these strategies, like the pre-call video, like handling like 80% in a video where you're sitting down, an email sequence where you're sending them like multiple, like I'm saying like 5, maybe 6 emails before the appointment even starts, depending on how far out you book, of answering commonly asked questions, showing testimonials and social proof and credentials and answering questions and building excitement. And then with the confirmation call, typically like a same day type thing, or maybe if they self-book, they call right as the booking comes through, and it's just building rapport, expectation setting, continually to like answer more commonly asked questions and making sure when the appointment is confirmed that it's actually confirmed, but confirmed with clarity. We reinforce the why, when, and the where, especially the why. So that's pretty much it. Those are the 3 tactics that you can implement on how to increase the clarity. This is something that is extremely overlooked in every industry, but especially in roofing, because roofing is a sales-based industry. So it almost feels like, you know, let's just get a lead. That's the function of marketing, what people think. It's just, let's just get a lead. And then the function of sales is like, let's just have this closer figure it out. Let's just have them just like, you know, boxing fight, like objection handle at the end of the call. That is not an effective process. You're playing the numbers game. You're playing the game of 30% show rates and 20% close rates in a long drawn out sales cycle and talking, like have your rep or your prospects getting quotes from competitors. It's a pain in the ass. And the pre-call process is going to be the remedy for all those pains in the asses. I promise you that. So hopefully this video helped you out. Watch all the other ones. We have some other content on here helping you guys out. So just binge every single video. I'll talk to you in the next one.